Righty ho! Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Stole that intro from Bailiwick TV. Welcome this evening. Joining us. It's really important that when we do these predictions, it's really important that we get people on here who actually have knowledge of the game. And obviously, we've got a very good friend of the show, former fighter, representing Repton in the amateurs, former manager, well, probably still a manager, trainer, and promoter, the one and only Mickey Helliet is here. The great Mickey Helliet. Mickey, listen, they're happy to see you. They've been asking for me. Literally, they requested this, Mickey.
How you doing, Ultra?
It is what it is, Mickey. Let me just before we go, let me just quickly start with the following, guys. If you'd like to be part of the chat, if you'd like to ask Mickey a question, please feel free to subscribe to the chat and ask Mickey a question. You can see your screen in a minute. You can see Mickey's channel, Hellraiser Boxing. I don't ask you to do anything for me ever. This is a free channel. There's no super chats. Nobody gets paid to do anything. I do this off my dollar. But if you, out of the kindness of your heart, can go to Hellraiser Boxing, please support Mickey. Please support people who work in boxing, who've been making a living out of this sport for decades. Please go to these videos, hit the like, and hit subscribe to Hellraiser Boxing. I think Mickey will probably go on this channel and do one of his own Anthony Joshua's Usyk post-fight breakdowns or something like that. So we'll probably be seeing that. So please subscribe to Hellraiser Boxing. I will put the link in the description box. Mickey, I'm going to get going. I'm going to get cracking. Got a lot of questions, so I'm going to get cracking on. I've got quite a few to get through. Let's talk trainers, Mickey. You've been there. You've done that. Do you know what? It's funny because you've met a lot of people in boxing. I think last time we went here, we were talking about Gervonta Davis, and I think you said you met him. I don't know if that was through a senior.
I have. I sparred boxers with Gervonta Davis.
That's it. Yeah. So you've met a lot.
Several times. He's a very good fighter. Very good fighter.
Have you ever met Robert Garcia, Mickey? You ever met him?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. No, I've heard a lot about him. I was actually quite surprised that they would bring him in because he's reputed more for fighting with smaller guys. But then I thought maybe it's a good thing. And some of the things that he said early on, I liked that I heard through the media and through watching interviews and stuff. He didn't seem to be afraid to criticize. And quite often see these guys, they get up there. They're very Anthony Joshua's sort of his famous quote is "Stay humble," isn't it? Stay humble, stay humble. And they are very humble at the start, but once they get to that position where they're a center of attraction, really, and they get hit on by all these different people, some of them perfectly decent, some of them not so much. And it sways them. It's very difficult for them because they're not. Most of them are not experienced in the business world. They're not experienced at how to cope with these sort of situations. It's not something that they've built up over 30 years. You know, like you go to the chairman of, British Rail or something, Network South. They're going to have been built up slow. In boxing, it can happen very, very quickly, and suddenly you're right in the middle of it. And this is what I think often happens to fighters is they get up there, all these new friends appear out of nowhere, promising the earth. And one way to do that is by sort of currying favor with the fighter by polishing his ego a little bit. And what happens then is, I'll give you an example. Actually, no, I won't, because last time I was on your blog, I upset someone and they rang me up and said I was really disappointed to hear the things you said. So I'm going to be careful.
They rang you up.
Yeah. So I'm going to be really careful. It wasn't last time; it was one of the recent times. So I'm going to be careful what I say. But look, what they do is they go and inflate their ego and sort of agree with everything they say. And I like the fact that he went against the grain. He sort of made statements that were like, well, this has to change and this isn't right. And they were all things actually that I thought, well, that's right. That's bang on the money. The criticisms he was making, about his approach. And the thing is, I did a blog before the first fight, and a lot of the things that he was talking about were things that I said he should do in the first, why he went in there and opted to make it a chess match. for me is absolutely beyond understanding.
Let me ask you a question. I want to ask you something about trainers, right?
Go on.
You've got two trainers in the camp, Mickey. You've got Angel Fernandez and
Yeah.
you've got Robert Garcia. Mickey, if a
Yeah.
fighter came to you and said, Mickey, listen, I want you to work with another trainer. So the idea is in the camp, you're going to have to get on with the other trainer if you want to be in camp. You guys are going to have to do things 50-50. This is something that I haven't heard of before, certainly in a fight of this magnitude, where you've got two head trainers in the camp with almost sort of equal power. Mickey, would you take that job? Forget the money for a second. Obviously, we all want the 10%, but would you take that job, Mickey? And how does that work?
To be honest, I've never had a situation where the fighter has wanted to have I have had situations where the fighter wanted two coaches. I've never had a situation where I've accepted to do it with two coaches, because it's just so obvious, isn't it, that there's going to be conflicts. I don't mind if there's other coaches who are sort of lower down the hierarchy than the main coach, but firstly, I mean, I don't think Angel Fernandez actually developed any champions, like big world champions. Has he had any?
Well, I don't want to get any phone calls, but not
Yeah.
yet. But I have to say, I've heard nothing but good things about him, by the way. I have to say.
Okay. Well, I've had him. No, I've had him in the gym with fighters that I was working with, and I thought he did a good job with them. The things he was asking them to do, I thought, well, that's exactly what he needs to do. So I was happy with him. This is what I think. I think Garcia might. Well, I would have thought he'd want to come in and be the governor, be the boss, give the direction. That's the first thing. The second one is that, look, I don't know who it is, and I don't really want to pressure the people, whoever it was, but like for me, for my opinion, what it's worth, Joshua's tactical approach was appalling. And there was a voice in the corner saying, "Excellent, Anthony, excellent." And that was, I'm absolutely convinced that wasn't Robert McCracken.
It wasn't.
It sounds slightly brummy, but it can't have been Robert, because Robert knows his boxing, and he wouldn't be saying excellent when the guy's getting convincingly outboxed, out fought, and out hustled, and all the rest of it. It was a terrible night for Joshua, you know, because if you look at the defeat at Madison Square Garden with
Ruiz.
Ruiz. Joshua's actually bossing the fight until he gets caught, and he collapsed like a house of cards, really, from when things started going wrong. But I think that defeat, you can come back from it quite strongly, because he was doing lots of things right. Although in the corner he was saying, "Why am I feeling like this? This isn't right." He seemed to sort of be doing okay. Then he gets clocked, and it all fell apart. The fight with Usyk, it was just such a convincing, thorough beating. I think it's soul destroying to get beaten like that. And what I think they might aim to get from having Garcia there is that, look, when it was going wrong, like when I have a guy fighting in a main event, in a big fight like that, or even in not a main event, just a fight that I think is a test for him. If it's fighting a journeyman, okay, we might have 2 or 3 different plans for the fight, but it's within a certain remit. When you're going into a fight like that, now, I mean, look, Usyk, obviously, I know he hadn't really shone at heavyweight before, but I think I mentioned this in the blog as well. I had a sneak. Maybe he's taking it easy on these Chisora and these fights he's got coming through, to make sure that the Joshua fight gets made. Because they'll think, "Oh, that's easy money. Look, he struggled against Chisora, who's right at the end of the road. Joshua's going to smash him." Whether he did that or not, I don't know. But I like to have like a plan A, plan B, and maybe some fights even sort of a dozen different permutations. If when we do this, he does this, then we're going to do this. And if when we do that, he does this, then we're going to do. Do you see what I mean? So you map it out. That's what I like to do. I like to map it out. So we've considered all the different problems that might come up during the fight, before the fight. And you've got your, 10 weeks training camp leading up to the fight. And in those 10 weeks, the fighter learns chapter and verse every different situation that can arise. Automatically, he knows the different options open to him and which one to choose is up to his discretion. But that's how we would lay it out. Now, it seemed to me Joshua went in there, I mean, which I think is madness, but listen, he went in there thinking he can outbox Usyk. That's what I think he thought. And when he couldn't, when he realised I can't outbox him, he hadn't really planned for any other. There was no plan B. There was no one coming in there saying, well, try this or now do this. And he just seemed to carry on doing the same thing.
I agree.
And for a guy, a world champion fighting for world title belts, I was baffled by it. It makes me think, is Joshua losing his passion for it? Because Joshua has always really marked me. I mean, I've had guys that I managed fight against him. So for me, I've paid attention to him. Obviously, an Olympic Games gold medalist, you would, wouldn't you? I've paid attention to him, and he's, the biggest earner in British boxing for years. I've paid attention to him for a long time, and he seems to me like a very, very, and I've spoke to him a lot. When my guy boxed him, I was playing FIFA football with him in the hotel. I spent a lot of time chatting with him. He strikes me as a very switched on, highly intelligent, and or he did then, as hard working, real grafter. Someone that would study the game and would work on the intricacies of his tactics. And I couldn't believe that he'd go in a fight like that. And there was lots of options. I'm not saying any of them would have worked. I don't know. But we don't know because he didn't try anything. He just went in and carried on doing the same thing, and it didn't work. And it was as if he'd been brainwashed that this works. This is how you're going to go and win the fight.
Mickey, let me just jump in. I want to ask you another question about the training situation. All right.
Go on.
Here's the question. I'm just going to read it out verbatim to you. When things get tough in the ring, right? When things get tough in the ring, is it useful, or what is the benefit of having somebody who really knows you on a personal level, knows when you've had enough, knows how to motivate you? Does Robert Garcia bring any of that to the table? Go on, Mickey.
No, I don't think he does, because he's a new coach and he's learning about Joshua. That's not to say that I don't think he'll do a good job or he's the wrong man for the job. Because listen, something has not been right for me with Joshua for a long time. I know people were saying against Ruiz, the rematch, a masterclass. For me, that wasn't right. I thought he was shocking. I thought if he was on form, he'd have smashed Ruiz in a couple of rounds. Ruiz was overweight. He didn't look fit. Was blowing, in fact, from very early on. He looked half a second off the pace of the fight right from the start. Joshua, really, if he was... Look, can you imagine Lennox Lewis going in with someone like that and lasting 10 rounds? I mean, or whatever.
No, I can't. No.
He would have lasted a round or two. He would have just systematically obliterated him. And listen, like I say, I don't want to get any more phone calls either. And I'm an admirer, not more phone calls. And I'm an admirer of Joshua, right? But that last performance, and even before that, his last, performances, he looks to me gun shy. He looks like confidence for me, it's layers and layers. I was going
to ask you that. I was just about to button and ask you. So I'm going to ask you, how do you deal with that? An anxious, a gun shy fighter? Because it does seem to me, I don't take any pleasure in saying it, but as someone who suffers from anxiety myself a lot, he does seem to suffer with. For me, he has an anxiety problem, and he's definitely gun shy. How would you deal with that? How have you dealt with that over your training career?
So I don't think there's a cut and dry solution to it, but I'd say from my personal point of view, when I get fight, and I get fighters that are really good fighters in the gym and that don't deliver on the night. Okay. I get coaches coming to me saying, "Oh, look, listen, in the gym, this guy is a world champion. Fights in the night, don't deliver." Right. So you try and for me, it's like you put layers. You can't rush it. Right. It's something that you have to be patient. You have to be so patient because very, very gradually, I've seen fighters improve when you do that. When you are putting the layers one at a time, helping the guy progress, working on the issues that are stopping him from performing, and that's how you do it. Well, here you've got a pressure cooker environment at Joshua because he's got to deliver in his next fight against the guy that's just completely thrashed him.
What do you mean by layers? Just explain the layers thing, Mickey, layer by layer. Because I tell you what, what's going on with Anthony Joshua right now is a rush job. It's no disrespect. I think he's got a good chance, but it's a 4-month rush job here. They haven't got much time.
Okay, I'll tell you what I mean by layers. Firstly, to answer your question, because maybe I didn't explain it properly. Well, I call it layers, as in imagine like an onion, right? You've got wafer thin layers, and each time you work on a different problem, it might be dropping his jab or dropping his right hand or his chin coming up when he moves backwards or in walking back in a straight line, whatever the problem is. And you can't just say you're doing that wrong, do it differently, because most fighters won't do it. Very good fighter will. An top elite level guy, you tell them a fault, a shortcoming that you can spot that they haven't, and they'll adapt to it and adjust it straight away. A lot of fighters don't. Most of them, the vast majority don't. You have to ingrain it in them, and that takes a lot of time to change habits. Because even if you're telling them, listen, what I promise, this is what happens. They think they've learnt it. They go into a fight. Things in a fight can go well and can go wrong. And at the time when they go wrong, they revert back to the old habit. They don't keep trying out the new stuff when it's going wrong. They revert back to the old habit. And I got a feeling that, well, I'll tell you how I think the fight's going to go later, but I think Usyk will put a hell of a lot of pressure on Joshua this time. The first fight he didn't. He lands with shots again and again that I know that he knows that he could have landed a hell of a lot harder than what he did. But the first fight, I don't think that Usyk had the confidence to go into the fight thinking, I'm going to stand in front of this guy and take his head off. He went in there thinking, I'm going to pick enough rounds, beat him over enough rounds to nick the fight, to win it on points. He's not going to launch the big shots. I think this time he's going to launch the big shots.
I agree with you. No, absolutely. I agree with you on that. You're actually answering a lot of the questions that I've got.
I'm sorry. I've ruined the blog.
Because the next question was going to be, listen, Mickey, I agree with some of the stuff you've said there. I mean, I've always said, and you know, because you've actually been there and done it, and I haven't had a fight, so I don't. But when things get bad, Mickey, you revert back to what you are. You know, we've all been there. I've been to the gym and said, I'm going to do this and that. No, don't worry, mate. Don't worry. It's all right, mate.
So I switched the light on because I'm in my car, in my van. I switched the light on, hoping it would help you see me more. But
no, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. And I was just saying, you know, we've all been there. Well, we've gone in the gym and we've said, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we've been buzzed up. And when we get buzzed up and you get hurt, fortunately, when you start going on instinct, don't you, Mickey? And for me, when I look at Anthony Joshua, he does find it very, very hard to relax in the ring, in my opinion, Mickey. I think that's part of the reason for his stiffness. I actually looked. There's a very, very interesting video for anybody who's interested. And it's the video of how Anthony Joshua beat Vladimir Klitschko. And it's actually them in the EIS Sky backstage with Anthony Joshua and Rob McCracken. It's one of the only times that you actually see Rob McCracken actually training Anthony Joshua. Like, you can actually see him going through bits of sparring, and you can see specific instructions that Robert McCracken's given him. And one of the instructions that Robert McCracken's given him, which he's not following, is actually to be loose. Because he keeps telling him things like, right, get your rhythm, upper body movement. Don't go looking for anything. Don't go looking for anything. Because you can see with Anthony Joshua, he's a very powerful man, very heavy set guy, very, very hard puncher. But he loads up on his work and he tenses up a lot when he gets in there. And you can see Rob trying to loosen him up, and it's just not happening. And I just think that's one of the things as well that he finds very, very difficult in the ring. And I think, like I said before, it's one thing to go in there and change it, but if Usyk hits him, if Usyk hurts him, what's going to happen, Mickey? He's probably gonna go back. I mean, the next question was
when he hurts him, because Usyk's going to get through at some point in the fight.
Yeah, but so is AJ. I have to say, AJ is the puncher.
Listen, well, AJ's definitely got the power to do that. It's a roulette spin, if you like. If Joshua lands that shot, 100%, he can win it there and then. That's what I think he has to. I mean, I'd like to see him go into this like a Tommy Hearns, not like trying to fence his way through, because it didn't work. Listen, that was his undoing. Whoever plotted that idea in his head is the person that he needed to get rid of, and maybe that was Robert, and maybe that's why Robert isn't there now. I don't know, but the thing is, I can't imagine Robert telling Anthony Joshua go and try and outbox Usyk. I just can't.
I think I could be wrong on this. I actually think, I don't know if anybody in the comment section can agree or disagree. I'm going to watch that fight tomorrow. I think Rob's plan, listening back to some of the corner work, if I remember correctly, was he was trying to get AJ to keep it long so Usyk would fall in. Whether you consider that boxing him to a degree, I don't know. But I'm going to listen back to that on Sky. I'll watch the fight back. Don't hold me to that. But as I remember during the fight, I think some of the tactics Rob was trying to do was keep Usyk at the end of the shots to make him fall into bigger shots. I wanted to quickly ask you as well, chins. One of the biggest criticisms we get on this channel about AJ is AJ doesn't have a chin, right? Which I'm not saying I buy into. Is there a way to train chin? We often hear the term, "Oh, you can't grow muscles on your chin." But is there a way through some people think that you can improve your legs, can help improve your chin. If you improve your legs, if you get stronger legs,
I think there probably are ways you can make yourself more. Well, there are. There are ways, I'd say, that are fairly tried and tested to improve your capacity to take punishment. But I think AJ's problem here is not one necessarily that you can improve. Well, you can, but I think AJ already, I mean, it's not like he's got a skinny neck. He used to have a skinny neck when he came from the amateurs. He hasn't now. I think he's fairly robust. I think the big problem that he's got here is Usyk is a lot faster than him. In the third round, I think it is, in the first fight, Usyk starts to let his hands go a bit, and you can just see the speed of him is so much quicker. Obviously, Usyk's put a bit of timber on for the second fight. Maybe he'll slow down. I hope for Joshua's sake that he does, because that might give Joshua a chance to land his big shots a little bit more commonly than he did in the first fight. He did land some shots, Joshua, in the first fight, but just there wasn't the consistency that's needed to break him down, to break Usyk down.
No, I wanted to ask you. We're going to get closer to the fight prediction, and then we'll go through some questions. You guys, if you hang on in a minute, in the next 10 or so minutes, we're going to start talking about the fight. Mickey will give his prediction, and then you guys can get your questions in. There's 94 people here so far. Please, if you can, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. If you'd like to subscribe and support real boxing people, please go to hellraiserboxing.com. Link is in the description box there, and please hit subscribe. And I know people have been subscribing, Mickey, because you've just gone up to 2.19. Not that much, but we'll get you up. So the numbers have ticked up ever so slightly. So we'll keep pushing that. I want to ask you about sparring partners, Mickey. And it's not a question about the specific sparring partners, but I just wanted to ask you a question about sparring partners, because I'm not a professional fighter, so I don't quite know how this works. You're sparring for a fight with Oleksandr Usyk, right? One of the greatest fighters of all time, yeah, amateur or professional, okay? And I'm just looking at some of the sparring partners that Anthony Joshua's got. All I will say is this, right? Wow, Mickey, only one of them is well ranked. Now, here's the thing, right? I think in the run-up for this fight, Anthony Joshua's done more rounds of sparring and harder sparring than he's ever done before. That's the impression that I've got from some of the interviews that I've been watching. More sparring and harder sparring. I could be talking complete rubbish here. So if anybody in the chat who's boxed or had a fight or anybody wants to correct me, please correct me, right? Because I know if it's very, very hard to get in. It's not often that world-class fighters actually go and do lots and lots of rounds in a run-up to a camp with fellow world-class fighters. Like you don't get an Errol Spence, for instance, sparring with a Terence Crawford in a run-up to a fight. But I'm just looking through at the list of Anthony Joshua's sparring partners that I've got here. Only one of them, as far as I'm aware, is well ranked. He's a guy called Dempsey McKean, who I actually had a little bit of a look at the other day.
Yeah, and you have to question his ranking, Dempsey McKean. I mean, look, he's not rubbish, but
exactly. But yeah,
who's he? I mean, the people he's beat are like, they're not there yet. He's not a debut to. Where is he on BoxRec? What's his rating on BoxRec?
BoxRec is banned on this channel, but on UltraRec, he's not ranked very high. I had a look the other day, and I'll be honest with you. Like I said before, Mickey, I don't get the logic behind it in terms of you can spar with these guys. I mean, AJ's so much better than these guys. That's what bothers me. AJ is levels above all of these guys. So how can you really spar hard with these guys, Mickey? He would knock them over. I mean, these guys aren't even top 10 ranked fighters.
Okay, so look, I think this. I saw the sparring, and this is what I thought. I thought whoever's chosen those sparring partners probably is recognising that AJ has had his confidence dented. I might be completely wrong. Listen, this might be way off the mark. This is what I think. I thought he's looked very, very gun shy. All right, I think he's got a warrior's heart, but somehow he's taken a different direction where he's thinking a bit too much and doing not enough. And I think maybe whoever chose the sparring partners might have been thinking, well, he needs someone we need to build his confidence back up again. So let's take some people that we know he's going to deal with. And if they knocks them out, we'll just get more in. They've got the budget to do it. That won't be a problem.
Usyk. I mean, I don't know all of Usyk's guys. If you know Usyk's sparring partners, can you put them in the chat? I don't know all of them. I know Usyk's sparring with guys like, Bakole straight away. I mean, God bless Billy Nelson, who's in the running for Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year. Cough, cough, cough at the minute. But listen, I mean, Martin Bakole is infinitely better than anybody on Anthony Joshua's list of actual sparring partners. I mean, the sparring partners that Usyk's got.
But Bakole, I think you wouldn't frown if you saw him in a top 15 of the world rankings. Look, Michael Hunter is a fantastic fighter, and Bakole was beating Hunter, although he was burning a lot of energy doing it, and Hunter was sort of conserving his energy and still nicking a lot of rounds against him. But I was at that fight, it was at York Hall, brilliant fight. I had fighters on the undercard, and world-class sparring. If you want to be a world champion and you want world-class sparring, then I think that's the way to progress. The guys, Joshua's, and like you say, Dempsey McKean, what some organisation decide to put him in their ratings. If there was just like the top 10 in the world, I don't think he would be in there. He'd be miles out of there in my book. And
what is it? What is it? Just before we move on, Mickey, what is it with the young amateurs as well? A lot of the fighters that he's got in here, he's got Adejeji Adebola, I think Isaac Oko. He's bringing in lots of young amateur fighters. Can someone explain to me why would you do that? In preparation for Usyk?
I think that's a good move. I tell you why, because the amateurs, they'll be a bit quicker. And like I say, the big problem that Joshua had for me with Usyk, the root of most of his problems was that he was just too fast for him. Usyk was so quick. His feet and his hands were just too quick for him. He was a step and a half ahead of him throughout the fight. And you can see Joshua trying to move himself. And by the time he's moved there, and Usyk tormented him, he realised he had the speed on him, and he made Joshua sort of second guess that he was going to come outside of his front hand, which is the typical tactic against the southpaw that you employ. And Joshua would try and move there. And as he moved there, Usyk came through the middle. So he actually came inside. Right? And again, I mean, you'd think go on the inside against if you're a southpaw, that's suicide. But because Joshua was so much slower and was moving to try and get himself out and boom through the middle, all the way through the fight. How many times did Usyk land his backhand?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, let me tell you this, going a little bit towards the prediction that I'm telling you that
Let's go.
I'll
Let's
do.
go for it.
Right. Do you remember? Well, you'll definitely remember. I think you'll remember two fighters, Virgil Hill and Fabrice Chiozzo.
Virgil Hill rings a bell, but I think Fabrice Chiozzo doesn't, and I think that's a little bit before my time. But carry on,
Okay,
please.
right. Sorry, I'm showing my age. Right.
No, but Virgil Hill was beaten by Roy Jones with a body shot. That's what I remember from Virgil Hill.
Right.
But
Yes.
carry on.
Virgil Hill was a top light heavyweight, went cruiserweight afterwards, and Chiozzo also actually was a world class. You know, they both became world champions. But the first fight, right? And listen, I'm my dad's French. I'm half French, so it's possible that the reason why I know so much about these two fighters is because they were. I grew up very much involved in French boxing, and Fabrice Chiozzo was one of the best prospects and best boxers. So that's why I know. It's not like I can just ping out any old boxer. You know, I haven't got that memory. But anyway, right, Chiozzo boxed Virgil Hill. First fight, Chiozzo pushed Virgil Hill, gave him a competitive fight, but got beat in a split decision, which was probably generous to Chiozzo. But I remember watching the fight at the time, and I could see I'd seen Virgil Hill box a number of times previously, and I remember thinking, it's clocked in his head. He's landing so many clean shots. It's clocked in his head that he could have set his feet and let the power go a lot more. If they box again, I think he'll be a lot more destructive with his punching, rather than just contenting himself to be. Because what Virgil Hill did, and why probably you haven't heard of him so much, because he was a guy that hit and didn't get hit. Okay, he was happy to pinch fights on points, do the bare minimum and do it very safely, so he didn't get hit and so much, and win the fight. And that was his tactic throughout his career, which was great. Boxing technical sort of approach and tactically not so great on TV, because it prevented him from being like a Roy Jones or something like that. But a great fighter, really brilliant fighter. They had a first fight, Virgil Hill won it, but it was split decision. They had a second fight, and my dad's friends with the promoter of Chiozzo. So I remember saying to my dad, the thing is that you don't understand. Hill could have done so much more in that first fight, but he didn't, because he just played it safe.
Yeah.
I said he landed so many clean shots. I mean, these fights are on YouTube. You can see them. If you're at a loose end, watch them. They're good fights. The second time, Hill plants his feet early, stops him in a round. Listen, I think that's a real possibility. I don't think it'd be the first round, but I think
really, Mickey.
Usyk's put on a lot of weight, so we can ask ourselves why has he put this weight on? Because I don't think that's just like happened by chance. But this is what I think. I think Usyk realised he's got a second and a half of time over Joshua. He's got a massive speed advantage. And also he's realised that when he tested out that backhand, it landed again and again and again. And okay, Joshua's had months to watch. And now hopefully someone will have, pointed out, highlighted things he can do different. But I think Usyk has got that mindset that Virgil Hill had. I think he's thinking, I landed that backhand so many times cleanly. Rather than punch just to keep him off, this time I'm going to punch right through the target and take his head off with it.
Mickey, quick question. You know, we've been hearing a lot from Anthony Joshua that he's going to go in and go for a war, yeah? He's going to go in there, he's going to throw loads of punches, go for a war. Do you believe that?
Well, I tell you what, if I was his coach, I would be telling him, you've got to take a risk here, you've got to roll the dice, and you've got to do damage. I mean, he's got to sit on his chest and let bombs land on his hips, on his body, on the back of. Listen, I'm not going to say to cheat. You've got to go in there and you've got to destabilize him and not let him fight at his pace, at Joshua's pace, at Usyk's pace, and not give him breathing space, which is very difficult. Listen, Usyk is an absolute master craftsman. He's a possibly the most skillful guy I've ever seen. I mean, he's well, maybe. I mean, that's boxing. Yeah, listen, he's a brilliant boxer, an unbelievably good boxer, and that's why I find it so absolutely astonishing that Joshua went in there seemingly with the plan to go and outbox him. Because Joshua wasn't going in there, putting his hand on his head and thumping. If you watch Lennox Lewis against guys that moved, shorter guys, he put them in their place very quickly. He'd hold his hand on them and smash them with the other hand, then he'd be holding them again.
Yeah, like head control with a glove and stuff like that.
Yeah, he would force them into a kind of fight that they didn't want. Joshua forced Usyk into the fight that Usyk wanted to have anyway. It was. He forced him into a sort of feinting and jabbing bonanza. And the thing is, when it didn't work, when it was going wrong, like I say, he didn't have a plan B. I didn't see anything where I thought, now he's trying it. It just seemed same old, same thing. And he kept getting the same result.
Mickey, just going to give you a quick second. I'm going to bring the audience in. Guys, if you want to start getting questions to Mickey, we've got about 15, 20 minutes left. Get your questions into Mickey. We will go through them. We will answer them. If you can, keep them on topic. Anthony Joshua versus Oleksandr Usyk. If you've got any questions for Mickey, please do. We've got a poll in the chat as well. We've got 127 people in the live. Please, guys, support real boxing. Support people who've actually been in this business, and actually made money out of this business and been in the boxing business for decades. We're not box rec merchants on this channel. Please follow Mickey Helliet on Hellraiser Boxing. The link is in the chat. All you need to do for me is hit that link and please subscribe to Mickey Helliet. I don't ask you to do anything for me. I'm asking you to do this for me tonight. We have 130 in the chat. Please hit the like button. Get your questions in now. If you'd like to be a part of the chat, please subscribe. Mickey, before I ask you the next question, we're going to go through some questions from the audience now. Mickey, Usyk by KO 9 is from Heretic. Usyk by KO in the first 6 from Thomas. Usyk round 1 KO. I think Latvinder's taking the piss, or he hasn't had his ready break this morning. Thomas actually thinks it could be round 1. I think he's crazy. Crazy D3 is going 7. Joshua will quit in the fight. This is quite an interesting point, right? From Counterpunch, and it's not this one. It's the one about Robert Garcia, which I think you mentioned that. Peter Fury did an interview, and he said training a heavyweight is not like training a boxer any other way. He said it's completely different. Just quickly before we get onto comments, Mickey, do you subscribe to that? That training a heavyweight?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. That's bang on the money, and that's why I'm really surprised that he's gone with someone. Look, just because he's always trained smaller guys doesn't mean he can't train a big guy. He's probably very knowledgeable. We might know how to train a big guy, but he's not tried and tested, as far as I'm aware, at training big guys. So, but you know who it's going to sound probably a bit out there. Do you know what? This is what I'd have done. If Joshua had asked me what to do, I would have told, this is what I'd have got him. I'd have said, right, go with Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy, the former British featherweight champion, who trained Joshua all the way through his amateur career.
Okay.
Right. Go to Sean Murphy. and get out to America with him to gyms where these guys who can fight inside, who can roll, who can bully opponents without even throwing a punch by just closing the distance down and suffocating them, because that's what you've got to do against Usyk. If you give Usyk any space at all, you're not going to beat him. He's going to beat you convincingly. So, and by virtue of the fact to do that, it means that Joshua's going to have to come at him. He's going to have to come close and... But I thought, right, go out to America where there's a lot of fighters that actually know how to do that and a lot of coaches that could bring you along, and you could spend time. You could have... So if he'd kept Sean as his guide sort of thing, because Sean knows him inside out. He trained him through from the first time he walked in the gym as an amateur all the way through. He could have gone out to America and just spent the time learning. And Sean knows how to fight inside. He was a brilliant, very fiery customer, brilliant inside fighter. And for this, Joshua needs to be an inside fighter. I mean, I was absolutely flabbergasted when I saw him accepting to stand on the outside. And I know, listen, fighting at close range against Usyk is very, very difficult to achieve because Usyk has all the moves, he has all the tricks to keep you at long range and stop you from closing down and sort of trying to suffocate him. But that's what he had to do. And I would have gone out to those gyms where they teach that first. They don't have that as a plan B. Plan A is go and suffocate the guy.
You said that about American gyms. You said that to me. You said that to me on the show once. You said one of the things about American gyms is they do frown a little bit upon the outside work. It's like a bit of a custom in American gyms to get up close and work.
Yeah, fighting close, especially like in Vegas, where like in Las Vegas is financed by casinos, and casinos most of the time they're not mad keen on the boxing being chess matches. They like to see fights because their clientele, actually, some of them are knowledgeable, some of them are not. But they like to see a fight, and they like to see two guys standing in the middle and fighting, not boxing, fighting. So, and by going there, and look, they've got the budget to do it. You could import whoever his manager is. I don't even know who Joshua's manager is. Can import the sparring like a conveyor belt. Right, you smash that one up. He's out, but we've got another one coming in tomorrow morning. You're going to spar him.
I hear you. I'm listening, yeah.
And if he had Sean beside him, because what happens when you go away, say the Vegas or wherever in training camp, is it's not just when you're in the gym. You're together almost throughout the day. So you've got all that time to discuss the sparring, the adjustments, the things that you can do moving forward. And I'm sure he's been doing this, but I would have done it with someone that you've already got that bond with. Because look, Garcia's clearly done very well with some fighters, and maybe he'll do well with Joshua, I hope. But he hasn't, no matter how much we want it to work, he hasn't been with Joshua for years. And I'd have preferred Joshua to go out there with someone that does know him inside out, because I don't think his confidence is shot, but I think his confidence has been well and truly rattled. And I think the strength and the advantages of having someone that knows you inside out by your side day in, day out, and understands boxing and understands inside fighting, how to get in there. Because if you look at the first fight with Usyk, and look, if you want, go in my channel. I've been blogging a lot less the last year because my professional life has transformed with the COVID stuff. I couldn't work all the time in boxing because there weren't shows for ages, which means I've spent less time on it. But that's why I was very pleased that you invited me on the show tonight, because I want to get back into it, and I missed it terribly, the boxing. I'm still managing a few guys, but before, boxing was my 7 a.m. till midnight, day in, day out.
Bread and butter.
It was my bread and butter, and of late, it hasn't been. It's something that I'm keeping in hibernation, if you like, and keeping active to a degree. And I've got some very good fighters that have signed up with me and that I'm working with, but it's not the same as having like 110 fighters that you're constantly getting phone calls about, and this one's got to go and spar over there, and this one's fighting into, like, I don't have that pressure on me now.
What was the video? I've got your channel up. What was the video you said it on? Can you remember the blog?
Which that I said what? Sorry.
Yeah, you just you mentioned the blog that you did where you said something about Usyk and AJ and things like that, and AJ.
Yeah, it would have been before the first fight.
Okay, I've got it here.
Yeah, have a look at it after we've done this. Have a look at it, and you'll see. The tactics I would give AJ now are the same ones that I hoped he would have before they had the first fight. But I would have gone out to America with someone like Sean Murphy, who knows AJ like his son. They don't have to build any connection. It's already there. He knows him. He trusts him. And he understands. Look, you can have a big... But to build communication between a coach and a fighter, it takes a lot of... The coach has to understand minute facial expressions, difference in how he speaks.
Yeah.
These are tiny little things that you can't rush. There's just someone that's known him for 20 years or 15 years doesn't have to study that because he already knows it. So Sean Murphy, for example, or Robert McCracken, they would know it because they know him well, intimately. They know exactly the little nuances that someone that just meets him won't recognise because they don't know what his base mark is.
100%.
You know, like I play poker a lot. When I go to America, I play poker in Las Vegas a lot. And you have to learn these people. You have like a little period of time and you learn about, but then quite often a month later, they're back again, or a week later, they're back. And so you learn, and right, this is my base mark for this guy. This is how he behaves normally. This is how he behaves when he's lying. This is how he behaves when he's very intimidated. This is how he behaves when he's thinking about jacking it in. You have to learn all that. And then you can use it to maneuver your poker game against them and exploit their weaknesses and defend yourself against the things that they're good at. And Anthony Joshua could have, I think, benefited from having someone that knows all of his baseline, that knows his character, that could go out to America with him, work with these coaches who understand how to smoke people out, because that's where you've got the highest percentage of coaches that understand that style. And that's the style that Joshua needs now. If you look at that fight in the first bout, there's none of it. It's as if it hasn't even occurred to him or crossed his mind that that's an option. Because why would you take a beating for 12 rounds? Look, he wasn't all one way. He landed some clean shots on Usyk, but there was no consistency, and there was nothing there that put Usyk in trouble at any point in the fight.
Mickey, let's go through some comments in the chat, and then I'll ask you for your final prediction. Right? Let's get through these very, very quick. Just give me just a few lines on some of these comments. Mark Gilroy has been looking at the public workouts. Looking at the public workouts, Joshua appeared to try to move his head more and throw more feints. I can't see him to be able. I think he means to out-feint Usyk, though. Just a quick question. Somebody mentioned, I don't know if you can answer this very quickly. Somebody in the chat asked, how would you avoid Usyk's left hand? What would be one of the best ways to avoid Usyk's left hand? When I asked you when you first came on the show about how you deal with southpaws, one of the tactics that you said was square him up, get him square, get him neutral, and have it out with him.
That's more of a last resort than a first resort. Okay. But that's if you're struggling, if they're getting the better of it, right? If they're getting their front hand outside of my front hand, I'd get bored of that very quickly, right? And that's when you turn it into a fight. You decide, right, I'm not going to let him do this for long. You know, you can't, because he's just going to outpoint me. If a guy's got quick feet, I'd want to walk him down and get him square. Absolutely, get him so that he's not a southpaw anymore. He's square.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the comment you just said? The guy, because there's something in it. What he said, he asked a question.
No, it was a comment about Joshua trying to move his head more and throw more feints. That's all.
Okay,
It's a
right.
public workout.
The throwing the feints, okay, I think is brilliant. I think he's got to throw feints. But the thing is, I think Usyk is a better technical boxer and a better hustler than Joshua, a better trickster. Right? If he goes in there thinking I'm going to feint, and he'll right, I think it's a recipe to lose. I think Usyk's better than him at that. I think what he needs to do is get inside, walk the guy, be the bigger guy. He is the bigger guy. Go and use the strength that he's got, which you don't use your strength by feinting. There has to be some feints, so you can't just go in and have a fight because then you get obviously picked off. But it has to be a lot more engagement, physical engagement, and that means he's going to get hit. At some point, he's going to get hit. So I'm going to turn the light on in here.
No, it's fine, Mickey. It's fine, Mickey. As they say, Mickey, you get water, you get wet. Carry on.
So he is going to get hit because of that. I mean, look, my feeling is Usyk is going to open up on him early. I think he's seen the things that he maybe had doubts that might exist, but didn't have the confidence the first time they boxed to exploit. And I think the second time round, he already knows now that he can land those shots.
Mickey, let me ask you. No, carry on. Let me ask you the $1 million question, and then carry on. Mickey, I want you to give me your final prediction. I want to ask you: are we seeing the end of AJ? Is that what you're saying here? Is this it? Is this it for him at the elite level?
I'll tell you what. I don't think it's the end of AJ. Let me just finish what I was saying because I'm going to lose my thread of what. Right. Sorry, I think the way he looked the first fight looked like Usyk had possibly 20 battle plans. And whatever Joshua came up with, Usyk had an answer to it because he'd already plotted that. But the other way around, it hadn't. Joshua didn't seem to have any solution to anything that Usyk done. So, and the one-sidedness of the fight, I think it's crazy to go in thinking, well, we'll just go in and carry on doing the same thing as we done that last time because that's not going to work. We know it doesn't work. So why even consider it? Sorry, what was your next question?
It's absolutely fine. Give us your final prediction, and I asked you, do you think it's the end of AJ at elite level? Because I'm guessing that you think he's going to get cleaned out in this fight. So what's going to happen in this fight? And tell us what's going to happen afterwards.
I'll tell you what, I got a strong sneak that Usyk finishes it early. I think around round 4, 5, something like that.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Look, I hope I've got a sneak that Usyk stops him, before the halfway mark. I've got a hope that AJ gets inside, pushes, because he doesn't have to be inside like head to head, but he's got to be close range, preventing the possibility that Usyk can dictate the pace, because as soon as he gives him that half a foot, 6 inches to maneuver, it's a massive disadvantage. And then you've got Joshua at a real he's got Joshua then has to gamble in a very desperate way. I would accept it from the start. If you give him that space, you're going to get mucked around like mad, and this is going to be horrible. You're going to take a beating, and you're going to get beat. He's got to not just push Usyk back. He's got to pump that jab into his chest. We know he can't hit his head on single shots.
I agree with that. Head, arm, shoulders. Carry on. Yeah.
Pump the jab into his chest, because he's not going to slip the chest out the way of the jab. And before he has a chance to move out sideways, you've got to have eaten, gobbled up that space and force Usyk to fight. And Joshua's got to deliver on the night and get his big punches in before Usyk gets his in. That's the mindset he's got to have, and that's risky. It's very risky. But I tell you what's even more risky is if he doesn't do that.
Yeah,
Because if he doesn't do that, he gets beat. He gets a thorough beating and a painful one. And I think Usyk this time, I think it's not a coincidence he's coming a lot heavy. I think he's done that specifically because he's recognised that the gaps are enormous in Joshua's defence, and he can land those big shots, and that will end the night early, and that's the way he wants to. That's what because why otherwise he just stay how he was. Did a perfect job the first time around, near perfect.
All right, Mickey. Well, I didn't think you were gonna. I'm kind of shocked. I didn't think you were gonna say 4-5. You know, I thought you were gonna give AJ a few more in there. I'm a little bit. I'm not unhappy at all. You know more about the game than me.
Look, there's a lot of different directions this could go in, but I think AJ has to take it to him. I mean, it'd be madness if he doesn't. He gets beat further down the line, down in the fight. But I think he's going to realise I can't outbox this guy. Look, some guys you have to outbox them. Some guys you got to knock them out. I mean, surely any world-class boxer, I think, will understand that. Some guys, you're better. Your tactics are better designed to go in there with the intention of taking them out, and other ones you go in there with the intention of outboxing them because you can do it. He's not going to outbox Usyk. He's tried it and failed massively.
Final question, and I'm going to let you get off to Epsom. It's the final question, Mickey.
Yeah.
I asked you this before, and I'll ask you again. Do you think it was a mistake that he took this fight?
Right. In an ideal world, okay, forget the money. That's a better way to answer it. Forget the money. If there was no money involved, then I'd say yes, it's a bad idea. He needs 2 or 3 fights to get accustomed to fighting southpaws, to get accustomed to smoking people out, to suffocating them, to closing the space down and battering them. That's the brutal truth. He has to get in there and batter him, close him down, brutalize him to the body, to stop those fast feet from allowing Usyk to dance around and mess AJ around. It's not an ideal world. Money is involved, and the money is in the return. Big money is in the return. I don't think it's the end of AJ if he gets beat. I think it'll be a huge disappointment. I hope he pulls it off. There'll be no one smiling more than me if he does, because he's going to have to really pull off an absolute performance of a lifetime to do it. He took an absolute belting.
I didn't want to ask this because these are it's such a stupid thing, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Go on.
If he does pull it off, right? I don't really care about this, but people are asking this. If he pulls it off, AJ, would you rank it as bigger than when Fury went to Germany and beat Klitschko? Where would it rank for you in terms of all-time British performances?
Yeah, I would. I would rank it right up there. I would, because Fury. I thought that Klitschko would beat Fury. I actually thought Fury would beat Klitschko, but I thought Klitschko will get the decision because it's in Germany and it's very difficult to go out there, and he's the cash cow that they've been milking for all this time, and they'll be looking after all the officials and everything very well, and just the way that the politics of boxing sometimes goes. But I did expect Fury to outbox Klitschko. I just thought he won't get a decision out there because I've seen so many guys go out there and not get the decision. Usyk, from the first fight, you've got to take it. He's a better technical fighter. He's a better all-round fighter. He's faster. I didn't see really Joshua dominate any area of the fight. So for Joshua to turn it, and the thing is, Joshua's got the tools within him. He's got the capacity to do it. But it's just his mind has to be right. His tactics have to be right. The distance that he fights at has to be right. The moves that he prepares in advance and the decisions that he takes along the journey of the fight have to be right. And from the first fight, they were wrong. So, it's going to be interesting. And look, if he gets beat, I don't think that's the end of him, because I still think there's a Fury fight there.
I agree, Mickey. I'll tell you this now. We'll do a blog on it down the line. I think that fight will happen. I think Fury will put.
I'm sure it'll happen.
Fury will be begging. Listen. The Furies will be sitting there. They are going to be praying that AJ wins this fight. They're going to be praying for it because they see AJ not as easy pickings. You can never write AJ off in any fight. But I think that is the fight that John Fury's made it clear. That's the fight he wants next. That's the fight they all want next. There's 100 million, 200 million. They want that fight. It's a winnable fight.
The Olympic champion who became a world champion, who's British, against another British guy who's world champion. I mean, that feels... How long will it take to fill Wembley for that fight? 15 minutes? 10 minutes?
Less than that.
It would sell probably 3 times over. That's the truth of it. If there was a stadium 3 times the size of Wembley, they'd fill it for that fight. I'm certain.
Absolutely.
I have no doubt in my mind. The whole country will grind to a halt. So, and that's even if AJ gets beat by Usyk.
Yeah.
They're still going to want that. And AJ's got a puncher's chance against anyone, so he could lose against Usyk and then go and stop Fury. You know, it's possible.
Anybody, I agree with that.
He'd be an underdog in my view, but it could happen.
All right, Mickey. Right, we're going to call it a day because I've been trying to keep these shows to an hour-ish. Mickey?
Go on. No, thank you for inviting me again. I really enjoyed it.
Anytime. Thanks for coming. Thank me. Thank you. 185 in the chat, which is very good numbers at this time of the day. Again, if you would like to subscribe to Mickey Helliet, Hellraiser Boxing, stay with me. I'm just going to stay on for an extra 5 minutes because there's just some things I want to talk about for the last five minutes regarding this fight. Mickey, thank you very, very much for coming on, my brother. Hit me up and come back on as soon as possible, man. Come back on as soon as you can, brother.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sure we will do. And enjoy the fight. And maybe we'll have a chat afterwards.
Absolutely, brother. Take care of yourself, Mickey.
All right, mate. Cheers. Thanks for having us again. See you then, mate.
There you go. The great Mickey Helliet, man. The man, Mickey Helliet. I'm not going yet, so you don't need to go. But it's important that we keep these streams timely. So we've got 181 in the chat here. If you want to stay and hear my thoughts on the fight, please feel free to stay. If you want to exit and leave because I'm the B-side, feel free to leave. The numbers have dropped down, so people think the show's finished. The show's not really finished yet because I want to give some thoughts, but I didn't want to talk over Mickey Helliet. Does that make sense? Because Mickey's my guest and you've all tuned in to hear him talk, yeah, and not me. So I don't want to make it about me. All right, I'm not trying to do an Eddie Hearn or a Tyson Fury. Always trying to make it about me. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. we have the technical preview with Mr. Chris Andre Boxing. My man, Chris Andre, the man, the myth, the legend. Chris Andre himself, yeah, is due to be here on this channel tomorrow at 6 p.m. Yeah, you guys know. Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is with Chris? Yeah, I've seen bits and bobs of him, but I like the way he handles himself. You know, I've got a lot of respect for the way Chris handles himself. That's the reason why I asked him to this show. He was someone that you guys wanted on the show. So just before we carry on talking, Chris Andre should be here tomorrow, 6 p.m. for the technical breakdown. On that show, I will give you some opinions on what I think is going to happen. I'm going to give you my opinion now. I'm not going to give you a prediction yet because I'm going to do it tomorrow night, 6 p.m. with Chris Andre on this channel. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to be part of the chat, ask myself a question, ask Chris a question, please hit the subscribe button for that. Let me tell you my thoughts very, very quickly on this Anthony Joshua versus Usyk chat without giving you a hardcore prediction yet. I think Anthony Joshua has a better chance than what people are making out. I cannot believe that I am the guy to cap for AJ. I cannot believe it. It's like even his own fan base have lost all faith in him. And me of all people, I'm sitting there and I put out a tweet on Twitter, I think it was yesterday, and I said, AJ fans, don't give up the hope. I thought I was supposed to be a hater. Weren't you guys all sending me death threats? I'm supposed to be an AJ hater. I believe Anthony Joshua has a genuine and real chance to win this fight against Usyk. Right? We'll talk about the prediction tomorrow, but I'll talk about some of my pros and I'll talk about some of my not pros. By the way, Frank Warren is a hell of a card. Maybe we'll talk about that in a second. But some of my pros for AJ. He has all the tools to win this fight. He has all the tools to win this fight. He's got the height, the reach, the power. He has got... I can't believe I'm saying this because I almost feel sorry for the guy. I'm capping for the guy. But he has got... let's put it this way. I have criticised... Thank you, Luke Beresford. I really appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing to Hellraiser, brother. And I appreciate the support, Luke. Thank you very much, bro. I've always criticised Anthony Joshua because he's been overrated. I think his fan base is absolutely rancid. Don't get me on that. Anthony Joshua's fan base, I think, are rancid, okay? But Anthony Joshua, the man, the fighter, I would never, ever write Anthony Joshua off in a fight because he's too big a puncher. He's too big a puncher. He's too good a finisher. And we've seen Usyk get... And you know what the funny thing about this Usyk thing is? Usyk coming off that Chisora fight, nobody was talking about Usyk like this. I mean, these days, it's absolutely unbelievable the way people talk about Usyk. Like, he's this unbeatable... I mean, look, he's never been beaten, right? But there's just like this... He's almost like the Da Vinci Code of boxing at the moment, isn't he? And if you just go back to the Chisora fight and look at how people were talking about Usyk after the Chisora fight, it was completely different, wasn't it? It was, Usyk is not too small for heavyweight. AJ knock him out easily. AJ get him out of there easily. He's too small. He's this, he's that. He's got no chance in the fight with AJ. He's struggling against Chisora. He's this and that. And I'm just saying, beware, because people in... Not Mickey Helliet, by the way. Mickey Helliet has been in boxing 30, 40 years as a fighter, promoter, manager, and trainer. So when Mickey Helliet's the real deal. Mickey Helliet's not one of these dudes looking at BoxRec, talking about resumes. We're talking about someone who actually is in the business, who's in the gym for a living, yeah? So I'm not referring to Mickey Helliet, but boxing fans as a whole are very, very fickle. And I will say that. And I think Anthony Joshua has all the tools necessary. And I think, you know what I mean? There are certain moves. I've just got to be... I don't want to give too much away for tomorrow. I think there are certain shots he can throw. There are certain shots he can throw that can have an impact on Usyk. And I think he hurt Usyk in that fight as well. Midway, was it through? What was AJ's best rounds? 5, 6, and 7? I think he hurt Usyk through 5, 6, and 7. So I'm just saying, okay, to say, I believe Anthony Joshua has a genuine chance to win this, a real chance to win this fight. And we'll talk about it in depth tomorrow at 6 p.m. And I'll give you the technical details as to why I think that. I think he's got a genuine chance to win this fight, a genuine chance. But here's the but. You ready now? This is what we can talk about, right? Here's the but. You know, when I look at this interview from Robert Garcia, this one here, this interview came out 5 hours ago. We'll push AJ to go for the KO extended interview with Robert Garcia. He said some things in his interview which really threw me. And you know me, I'm not one to play with mind games, yeah? You know me, you know I'm not one of the guys, the mind games, and all this stuff, right? But if you watch this interview, Robert Garcia talks about Anthony Joshua's self-belief. And you know what he keeps saying? He said something like, look, we've all, you know, you have bad moments in a camp. We all have bad moments in a camp. But he kept saying this line, and he kept saying, but he said the last few days, listening to the way AJ's talking, listening to the way AJ's communicating with people, listening to what I'm hearing you saying to other people, in the last few days, it really starts to be clicking. It really starts to be clicking with Anthony Joshua. He's really starting to, it really seems like he really believes he's going to win. Did anybody hear that from Robert Garcia in this interview on Sky Sports? Just watch that interview. I can't play it now for obvious reasons. But he says, he keeps talking about in the last few days, he's seen something from Anthony Joshua that makes him think Anthony Joshua's on it. And that threw me, man. That threw me, because you know what the first thing I thought was? What's been happening before them last couple of days? How's he been before them last couple of days? The last couple of days, he's now showing you that he's mentally switched on. But what was he like for the fucking 4 months or 3 months or whatever he was in camp? What was going on then? I look at Anthony Joshua, right? And there's nothing wrong with this, right? There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with being scared. Listen, Mickey's been in the fucking ring, represented Repton, couldn't turn professional because of a brain injury, and went into promoting and managing, and has built fighters up. He's met Anthony Joshua. Yeah, he's promoted. He's dealt with fighters who have fought Anthony Joshua. So you're talking about a guy who knows these guys. Yeah, Mickey Helliet, met Gervonta Davis, been to America, knows a lot of the guys out there. Again, we're not talking about box rec warriors, right? But I have to be honest with you, yeah. Anthony Joshua, and there's nothing wrong with it, but he does look like a guy who, I wouldn't say he doesn't believe he could, he just doesn't know. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even talking about mind games. You just look at him, I swear to God, you just look at this guy, you look at the face of Usyk, you look at the interviews he's doing. This is a guy and his pressure. You can see the pressure written all over him. And let me tell you this, and I want you to understand this, right? One of the keys to AJ doing well against Usyk is going to be being loose. That's one of the keys that I can talk about. I'm trying not to give away too much of the game, because if I give away all of the game tomorrow, then I'm going to tell you the same shit tomorrow at 6 p.m. with Chris Andre. So I'm trying not to give you too much of the game. But being loose is really important. Being loose. Do you know when you're loose, for those of you who spar, yeah? For those of you who go boxing gym, you know the difference between when you tense your shoulders, when you tense your arms? Because you know a lot of people, right? Especially in street fights, they think if they tense up, they'll punch harder. You know what I mean, don't you? You know what I mean? They think if they tense their shoulders, if they really tighten their fists, they tense their shoulders and they squeeze their shoulders and they squeeze their pecs and they think, oh, it gives me more power. You know what I mean, don't they? That's how, you know how noobs do it. And then you see them come in the gym, you always have a chat with them. Can you box? Nah, mate, I can't box, but I can street fight, mate. But that's not boxing. Nah, trust me, mate, I know what I'm doing. You get them in the ring and it's over. And you see them, they're tensing up, they're hunching their shoulders, hunching their neck. They're not breathing properly. They're stressed. And when you get those guys in the rings, it's only a matter of time. Unless they punch like Julian Jackson, it's only a matter of time for them guys. I see them guys in the gym, you know. Yeah, what you do? Can you box? Nah, mate, forget all that. I'm a street fighter. Are you a street fighter, are you? Yeah. All right, then. Let's have a move around then, innit? Let's have a move around. Let's see what you got. Hunch up. And they're going to throw a couple bombs, innit? And if them bombs don't land, do you know what you start to hear? That's what you start to hear in the ring. It's only a matter of time, innit? You know how important it is to be relaxed in the ring? There's a really good video. I'm going to show you the video. How Joshua beat Klitschko. Rob McCracken gets a lot of stick. It's this video here. How Anthony Joshua trained to beat Vladimir Klitschko. Rob McCracken, if you watch this video, gives AJ what I think is some very, very good instructions. And one of the things he keeps trying to tell Anthony Joshua is rhythm. Chill out. Don't go looking for the shots, because you can see with AJ, you can see him in his sparring. Heavy set, wide stance. Big wide stance, heavy set, tense, and he's throwing heavy shots. I think against Usyk, he's going to have to be loose. Nice and loose, nice and calm. But can he do it? Because to me, he looks under pressure. Do you know what I believe in this fight? I believe Anthony Joshua's got a very, very good chance to win this fight by stoppage. I really do believe that. I really believe that Anthony Joshua has a very, very good chance to win this fight by stoppage. And I may look like an idiot for saying that. I really believe he's got a very, very good chance to win by stoppage. But you know what I also think? I think if Usyk gets a very, very good start in this fight, he got a dream start in the first fight. I think if Usyk gets a good start in this rematch of Anthony Joshua, I really worry about him. Because a lot of people, no disrespect, right? But a lot of people are obsessed with trainer names, aren't they? They when they see trainers, all they see is their names, don't they? Robert Garcia's a good trainer. What about Virgil Hunter? He's a good trainer. What are them names? Derek James. People just throw out these fucking names. Do you know what I mean? It's like with the resumes thing, isn't it? It's like they think boxing's like top trumps. Whoever's got the better resume is going to win this fight. Well, what trainers he got? He's got Derek James. Well, he's got Virgil Hunter. Well, Derek James is a 10 and Virgil Hunter's a 5, so he's going to win this fight. It does not work like that. Boxing, actual boxing, when you get in the ring for real, actual practical real boxing does not work like that. Being a good trainer is not about being a big name. A lot of it's about the rapport that you build with your fighter. I've met trainers who have coached on Sky Sports box office in the main event on pay-per-view. And I didn't get along with those coaches. I've got along better and been more receptive with amateur boxing coaches who never done jack shit in the sport, as opposed to so-called world-class coaches who are on fucking Sky Sports pay-per-view. It's about a rapport. Some people just click. Some people don't click. Some people have a way of getting into your head. Some people don't. Some people have a way of motivating you. Some people don't. Some people know what makes your buttons tick, and some people don't. So it's not just about names. So when we talk about trainers, it's not just about what AJ's got. Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia is got great credentials, fantastic credentials. But don't assume that just because he's got Robert Garcia, that's going to be the be all and end all. Because does Robert Garcia know Anthony Joshua? Anthony Joshua is a gun-shy fighter who's got anxiety issues. Is Robert Garcia going to know how to motivate Anthony Joshua if things go bad from round one in his Usyk fight? Because I'm not trying to put Anthony Joshua down. I'm almost kind of hoping, in a weird way. I can't stand his fan base, but I'm almost kind of hoping he pulls it off because I feel so bad for this dude. But let me tell you something. It goes back to the thing we say time and time again. You can talk about new stuff in the ring day in, day out. I'm going to do this different. I'm going to do that different. You can go through all the training camps you want. You can go through all the sparring you want. But you know what happens when you get hit and you get hurt? It's hard, man. When you get buzzed up and you don't know where you are and you're seeing stars and your opponent's raining shots down on you, you don't know where you are. Do you know what? Instinct tends to take over. Do you know that? And I hope people know that. I think Anthony Joshua's got a fantastic chance to win in this fight. I don't think he's a big underdog at all. I think he's got a genuine chance to win this fight, and I think he's got a genuine chance to win this fight by stoppage. But it's also got the ability to be an absolute disaster. I think a lot of the fight is going to depend on the start. He's got to take Usyk out of his rhythm. He has got to take Usyk out of his rhythm. He really has. Because if it turns into a chess match, listen, fighters like Usyk are very, very clever. You think you're going to go in there and make it a war? Can I just say one thing? And again, guys like Dench will know this because they've been in the ring, yeah? Marco will know this because Marco's been in the ring and had X amount of fights, right? Guys who've been in the ring know, yeah? When these guys say, right, just go in there and have a war, it's not as easy as that. Guys like Usyk are specialists in making you think in the ring, getting in your head. Why do you think these guys like Usyk faint? You know, if AJ starts biting, if Usyk lands a big shot and hurts AJ, and then AJ starts biting on the feints from Usyk, that's it. Does that make sense? If Usyk can get AJ biting on the feints, so Usyk starts fainting, and AJ's reacting to them feints, something as simple as that will take the fight into an Usyk rhythm. Does that make sense what I've just said? If that makes sense, press 1. If that doesn't make sense, press 2. That's how easy it is for somebody like an Usyk, these top-level fighters, to get you into their rhythm. Very easy. Once they get your respect, once they get you biting on the feints, all of a sudden, you've gone in the ring. Right, I'm going to put it on him. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go in now. I'm going to be fucking Lennox Lewis. And he's hurt you with a shot. He's hurt you with a shot. And now all of a sudden, he's fainting. And you're just biting those feints. Up. And before you know it, you're back where you were in the first. You're back where you were in the first fight. You're back where you were in the first fight. Having said that, Usyk is not infallible. Some of you will call. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll do this as a closing. 175 in the chat, and I'll give you one of the secrets. I was supposed to hold this until tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Please hit the like. We've got 172 in here, only 70 likes. Please hit the like. I will tell you the key shot for Anthony Joshua. The key shot for Anthony Joshua against Oleksandr Usyk, in my opinion, is going to be the left hook. When I say this, by the way, I'm not a fighter, but obviously I've done a fair bit of sparring, and I am left-handed. I am a southpaw. I'm just saying, because there will be people out there on the internet who aren't even left-handed trying to tell me I'm wrong. There are people out there who aren't even left-handed and haven't even boxed who are going to try and tell me, oh, Ultratech's wrong. He's wrong. Nah, I watched this video and they said, no, I'm telling you right now, left hook is one of the most important shots. That shot's going to be critical. And Han, I know, that's when Han said that, that's when I decided to go with it. I agree with you, Han. That left hook is the shot. And I've said that already on Twitter this week. That, for me, is the key shot against Usyk. Crazy D3 saying the lead left hook or left both double up. Because when Usyk pivots, he always pivots out to his right-hand side. Always. Straighten him out with the left hook. Usyk's going to try and get outside foot position by stepping to his right. Double up the left hook. But you need to be loose. I'll try and explain it tomorrow, but you need to be loose. Double up on that left hook. Lead left hook, stop him moving to the right. Left hook to the body when he pivots. Double up on it, left hook. And I know Anthony Joshua can do it. And I know Anthony Joshua can do it. Because I see him do it. I see him do it in this video here. In this video here for Klitschko. How Anthony Joshua beat Klitschko. And I see him doubling up on that left hook. Really good. Really good. So I know he can do it. Left hook to head, left hook to body. That will help him set up the right hand. Obviously, he's got to pressure his weight and get into the inside. Left hook's going to be key. Look at that little pivot that Usyk likes to do. You see that little pivot he likes to do? He likes to pivot to his right-hand side and turn around, throw that left hook to the body. See if he wants to pivot into that left hook. Left hook to the body, left hook to the head. Stop him moving to the right-hand side, set up the right hand down the middle. He has got a genuine chance to win this fight. He has got a genuine fucking chance to win this fight. But I am very, very worried for him, to be honest. Right. 178 in the chat. Let's go through some final comments. That left hook is how he dropped Ruiz in the first fight, but from the inside, yeah. You see what I'm saying, Dench? Dench, yeah, it makes sense. Catch, because he likes Usyk. He likes to pivot, Usyk. He likes to pivot a lot. He always likes to get on. We told you in the first fight about AJ in lead foot position. But you know what Usyk likes to do? He's going to try and get lead foot position, and he's always going to be turning to his right-hand side all the time. Now, it's easier said than done. I'll tell you some other things tomorrow. There are things Usyk can do to throw off AJ. It's not as simple as throw the left hook, that's it. This is fucking Usyk, yeah? But if you look at that first fight, AJ ain't throwing the left hook enough in that fight. Left hook in this fight, if he can get off a few more left hooks, particularly to the body, and don't worry if he hit arms and shoulders. That's fine, AJ. But a lot of it depends on being loose as well. Does that make sense? You know what we say? Dench will understand. Dench, you know what? You know when I say double up on that left hook? You've got to be loose on that double left hook. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be loose on it. Can't be telegraphing. You can't be stiff. You can't be robotic. You can't be tense. Because and a lot of the reason why Anthony Joshua telegraphs his shot so badly is because he's tense in fights. He tenses up. He's tense. Fucking clenching his muscles. And that leads to telegraphing. Just do it. Just anybody. Look, I'll tell you this now. If you don't listen to anything from me in tonight's video, just do this right now. If you tense your arm and throw a jab right now at the screen and then make your arm as loose as possible and throw the jab, which jab's faster? You can do it right now. Tense your arm as hard as you can, throw a jab. Then make your arm as loose as possible and throw a jab. What moves faster? It's simple, isn't it? Got to relax. You've got to loosen up. Loosen up. Loosen up. The shots will come out that little bit faster, less telegraphing. Don't look for that big single. See him step to his right, bring that left hook across, bring that left hook across. See him pivot, left hook, double up, left hook to the body. See if you can stop him moving to his right-hand side. See if you can stop him getting knee foot position. Set up the left, set up the right hand. Ross Hampton with a fantastic point. David Price was 2 attempts. This is what, it's not about mind games, right? But you're right. David Price, he was done. Couldn't stay loose. He could not stay loose in fights. He could not stay loose in fights at all. Couldn't stay loose in fights, Pricey. Couldn't stay loose. Adam Turk says AJ's a confidence fighter. He's going to have to establish that really early in the fight. And look, a guy with the power of AJ, you can't write off because he could knock you out at any given moment. People have forgotten, I can't believe I'm capping for this guy. This guy's a massive puncher, legit. I don't really know who's the biggest puncher because I've never been in the ring with them. But the impression I've always had is that he's the second biggest puncher, right? In a division after Wilder, yeah? So he got the power to knock out anybody at any given moment in the fight, Anthony Joshua. If he lands one big shot, and he's a good closer, AJ. He's a very, very good closer. But what it's going to come down to is he going to have to go through some adversity? You know, in that Andy Ruiz rematch, he never had to go through no adversity, really, did he? He had pretty much everything his own way. Like, Andy Ruiz hit him with one big shot in that whole fight. He backed off a bit, and that was it. But he never really had to go through no adversity in that Andy Ruiz fight, did he? Like, he started off well, he started off strong, and he was racking up rounds from the get-go. So everything went nice and smoothly for Anthony Joshua in that rematch with Andy Ruiz. But so he never really had to face that adversity. That's the question mark over Anthony Joshua, isn't it, really? That's the question mark. And we've said it time and time again, and I apologise for repeating myself, but I'll repeat myself one more time, and then hopefully you'll come and see me tomorrow at 6 p.m, where we are live with Chris Andre. Is Anthony Joshua just an on-top fighter? Is that what this is? Is it really? Is that what's happening now? Is that the truth about Anthony Joshua, guys? Is that the truth? Is that the truth? Is the truth just that he's an on-top fighter? And that when everything's going his way, and the opponents aren't coming to win, and the opponents don't believe they can win, and the opponents don't hurt him, and as long as he believes before the fight he can win, he's all right. But is it a case of when you get him in a 50-50 fight, you get him in them genuine 50-50s? We've all had them. We've all had them in sparring, or we've all had them in whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Them genuine 50-50s where you step into the ring and you know what? I could catch a beating here. We've been there, innit? We've all been there. You've got in the ring with somebody and you're like, I could catch a beating here. I could catch a beating here. Some fighters have the ability to deal with that and produce. Tyson Fury knew when he got in with Deontay Wilder. He knew, didn't he? He said it. Even his own wife said it. He said, look, I'll be under no illusions, man. This guy, Wilder, is a knockout puncher. I may hit the floor in this fight. Well, guess what? He hit the floor 4 times in 3 fights. He hit the floor and he was hurt bad. Two of them knockdowns, he was hurt very bad. But he's able to deal with that unknown, isn't he? He's able to deal with it, isn't he? He's the one who handles that a bit better, doesn't he? He handles it, doesn't he? A bit better. Fury goes into a fight with a knockout punch and he goes, look, I'm probably going to hit the floor in this fight. But I've got a plan for that. Does Anthony Joshua honestly have a plan for that? Does he? We'll find out, because up until now, it doesn't seem to me like he has a plan for that. Does that make sense? Press 7 if you agree with me, and press 8 if you disagree with me. That is the biggest question mark I have over Anthony Joshua. When it gets tough in there, if it gets tough against Usyk, when it gets tough, is he going to be able to, if he has to get up? You saw Fury against Wilder in the 3rd fight. He was flattened by that shot from Wilder. He got up, yeah? That's a great point, Shevin. Well, AJ was hurt bad versus Vlad and came back and won. Well, there you go. I forgot about that. Good point. He was gone in that fight versus Klitschko, and he picked himself up, so he can do it. Can he do it again? Can he do it again? Or is he just an on-top guy? I do worry about him in fights where he doesn't know if he's going to win. And I'm worried about him in this fight. But I'm leaning towards him in this fight. We'll wait and see for tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to watch a lot of footage. And then we've got the 6 o'clock preview with Chris Andre. Please join us for that. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. But right now, I believe in him. I can't believe I'm saying this, because his own fan base who abused me for ages. His own fan base who have done nothing but threaten me, who have gone missing, won't be there for him. But I'll be there for him live on pay-per-view. I'll be there for Anthony Joshua live on pay-per-view on Saturday night. And I believe he can win and get the job done. He's done it before against Andy Ruiz. He's overcome it before. He's done it again. Tyrone Wallace says, if you were Joshua, would you be asking Spencer Oliver for advice? Joker. Shevin says, Usyk isn't a 42-year-old man. No. And Usyk mentally. Again, all I'll say is this. Usyk knows he might have to go through the trenches, but do you guys think Usyk thinks he's going to win that fight? You know what I mean, don't you? I don't know. I just think Usyk's a different breed. That's my opinion. Mentally, I think he's a different breed. Just look at him, look at the man he is, the way he trains, and what he's been through. He is a different breed. He's a different breed. He's been in big fights. He's been in so-called 50-50 fights before. He's a different breed. He's a different breed. But credit to Anthony Joshua, he's been holding it together really well this week. It's been a struggle. You can tell he's been on the sports psychologist. The stuff that he's coming out with in these interviews is classic sports psychology stuff. It's the kind of stuff I would say before. I mean, the stuff he's saying is classic sports psychology 101, 101. I mean, you hear Anthony Joshua saying that he listens to self-help tapes before he goes to bed every single night. It's no surprise because the way he talks is straight out of sports psychology 101. Control the controllables. Control the controllables. Tyrone Wallace says he's been asking Spencer Oliver for advice in group chats and in person all week. Is that true? Or are you winding me up? Last comments. It will be interesting to see what AJ has added to his game and more interested to see the Usyk make the adjustments live. Yes. Can Usyk adjust to that bodywork? Because it's going to happen. Exactly, Crazy D3. Let's speak it into existence. The stuff he's coming out with, to be honest with you, it does worry me. Sports Psychology 101 from AJ. Speaking it into existence. I've been praying every day. I can't control what he's just classic, like, he's feeling it. He's fucking feeling it. But it doesn't mean he's not going to win the fight. It doesn't mean that he's not going to fight. That he's not going to win the fight. It is what it is. Oh, God. Shevin says, yes, AJ said that he's been listening to Spencer Oliver in group chats. Like, I'll leave it at this, guys. I think he needs a good start. And then we'll see what happens. Never write off AJ. Big puncher. Never write him off. And I'll leave it with this. Fury, who's a complete fucking idiot, who we're just not going to talk about because he's apparently retired and giving away the Ring Magazine Heavyweight Championship of the world for no reason. Only an idiot like Fury would do that, by the way. Only an idiot like Fury would let some plank call him up on the phone and talk him out of the Ring Magazine Heavyweight Championship of the world. It's just stupid. Ring are going to look like morons if Fury comes back next week. Because I'll tell you right now, Fury, Big John Fury, all of them Fury boys are going to be watching this fight on pay-per-view and they will be praying for Anthony Joshua to win this fight. They don't want Usyk to win this fight. And it's not because they're ducking Usyk. Although people will disagree, right? But I don't think it's because they're ducking Usyk. It's that there's too much money on the table. Fury doesn't want to fight much longer. He's got 1 or 2 fights left in him. There is $200 million, allegedly, in a fight between Fury and AJ. And all involved now want to get this fight. Because AJ, let's be honest, has AJ ever looked this vulnerable at any moment in his career? No, he hasn't. So all the parties involved can see this fight slipping away. All the parties involved can see this big fight slipping away, and they want this fight. And I tell you this right now, they will try to make that fight at any cost. It wouldn't surprise me if somehow, some way, Anthony Joshua got beat by Usyk and still fought Tyson Fury. Does anybody believe that can happen? If you believe that can happen, press 1. If you don't believe that can happen, press 2. I actually believe it's possible. It's just a hunch. That even if Anthony Joshua gets beat by Usyk, he could still end up fighting Fury because there's just too much money involved and too many people want that fight. There's too much money involved and too many. Don't be surprised if you see that happen. Don't be surprised if you see some kind of arrangement. I agree, Crazy D3. It depends how AJ gets beat if he loses. If he was to lose, if he loses a close fight, you could see the Fury fight happen. Absolutely. If he gets destroyed in a round, maybe not. But if AJ performs well with credit and loses, I still think you could see that fight happen because I think the parties want it. They want the money. The longer they prolong it, maybe the less money there is. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on fighters' bank balances, purses, ticket sales and pay-per-views. You'd have to go other places to hear about that. CRB. Right. Is that it then? Could somebody tell me? I don't understand how to read the bookies' odds. Who of the bookies got it? Marco says, Ultra, if this is close, AJ's getting it. Usyk has to be flawless. I don't like Usyk's chances on the cards. To be honest. There's too much money. Yes, big up Jason Walker. Jason, we're here tomorrow live, hopefully 6 p.m. with Chris Andre for the technical preview and final predictions. So come for that. Usyk's the favourite. Usyk heavy favourite. I tell you what, if this goes to cards, I like Anthony Joshua on them cards, you know. What do you guys think about that? I like AJ on them cards, but we'll have to wait and see. Guys, really appreciate you joining me. 6 o'clock tomorrow. Please join me for the technical preview. I will give my final prediction. I'll pull it out of my ass. I've got no idea who's going to win this fight. I've got no idea. It just could go so many different ways. But I'll try and put a prediction out of my ass for you. Join me and Chris Andre tomorrow live at 6. We've had about 180 people, to 150 to 180 all night long. I really appreciate you. Please hit the like button. Can you do one more thing for me? For me, I've never asked you to do anything. It's not to super chat me. But if you respect what we do, which is have boxing people talk about boxing, there's the link in the chat. Please subscribe. Mickey Helliet, Hellraiser Boxing. And hopefully we'll get Mickey back on pretty soon. I think I'll be aiming to get Mickey on straight after the fight, really. If I can. Try and get Mickey on straight after the fight. I'm not going live for the fight, but I will plan to do a post-fight. So I'm not planning to do a live commentary, but I am planning to do a post-fight. Maybe we'll get Mickey Helliet on. Peace out. Take care of yourselves and each other.